It's really good to be speaking to Emm Sharpe today. Emm's company runs deaf awareness courses for companies, including basic sign language. Emm can tell you far more about the business than I can. So Emm, welcome to Business Questions.
Hi, thanks, David. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm thank you. So I'm Emm Sharpe from Study Sharp. That's my company name. We design bespoke, individualized training for businesses, small businesses, doesn't matter what size business you are, to make you more deaf friendly, more deaf aware for any potential deaf clients, customers, or deaf employees that you might recruit, you might employ. So we're about giving you the tools to meet the legislative obligations of the Equality Act 2010. So obviously, as times move, with equality and diversity being top of the menu now for all businesses, deaf awareness is going to become one of those that's really high up in its priority, and I think it will become compulsory at some stage. So we do really pride ourselves on bespoke training, so really individualizing training to meet your service need and your customers and what your business is about.
So how big is the problem? How many people in the UK do have hearing impairments or fully deaf?
Right, so it's 1 in 6 of us now. That's the actual formal stat. So yeah, 1 in 6 of us has some form of hearing loss. So that's quite a large proportion of today's workforce. So you will, if you haven't already, come across deaf customers, deaf clients, or deaf people that would like to work with you or for you. So the other thing is to think about, a lot of employers worry about the financial outlay of employing a deaf applicant or deaf person, but actually that's a misconception. It doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, if you like, but you have to consider that 68%, that's 2/3 of employees with a hearing loss, feel isolated at work. And at the moment, with furloughs and with the pandemic, a lot of deaf employees are sitting at home feeling isolated and not supported by their employers. And there's so many minor adjustments, small things you can do as a company that will help iron out those those feelings of those deaf employees.
Yeah, sure. And what are those basic things that you can do on an everyday level?
Well, it's things like if you're looking at the recruitment process, if you're looking to employ some more staff, then making your employment process, your recruitment process really transparent and really deaf accessible. So making sure that your paperwork, your application forms, your job descriptions, your person specs don't involve lots of wordy documents with jargon related terminology, because a lot of deaf people don't understand about jargon. They may not know the jargon related to your industry. So you need to keep your documents really simple English, simplified English, and bullet point as much as you can. That's a very easy, simple strategy you can adopt quite easily, particularly if you're a smaller company where you can look at your paperwork.
Yeah. And what about interacting with other employees within the company?
Well, we would look at what your company organization is about, and we would look to teach your staff teams or your managers, whoever is wanting the training, to communicate at a basic level with deaf employees. So it's about that first communication, teaching meet and greet phrases, so you can build up a basic conversation that you can use with that deaf colleague. So it's about that, but it's also about giving people the deaf awareness, so the background knowledge about the differences between, deaf and hearing culture. There's so much etiquette around those enculturated deaf sign language users, about their different norms and values that are different from our hearing culture. So it's about teaching companies about those differences and being able to adapt to those, being aware of those. I think that's the most important thing, that awareness, so that you're well equipped.
And what would some of the most common differences be?
Well, for example, if you are interacting with a sign language user as a hearing person, if you've got no sign language or a little bit of sign language or none at all, it's important to maintain eye contact with them. the whole exchange, the whole interaction, which actually is quite difficult for us as hearing people, because we don't do that. We don't eyeball each other, do we? When we're talking to each other, we look away, we scratch our arm, we look out the window, and then we make eye contact again. But sign language users, their etiquette is that you maintain that eye contact. And if you break that eye contact during that conversation, they will often go, what, why aren't you looking at me? And if you're not aware of that difference in expectation, it can be quite embarrassing for you, and quite frustrating for that deaf sign language user. That's one difference. It's about lip reading, those people that lip read, making sure that you face them, making sure that you don't put your hand over your mouth, making sure you're in a well-lit room with, a quiet room in a meeting with a deaf person there, a deaf attendee, making sure that you're accommodating them, and making sure there's no, lots of, disruptive background noise, furniture moving about, people chatting. You've got to make sure that that lip reader hasn't got those distractions. Don't sit in front of a window with streaming sunlight, because your face then is silhouetted, becomes darker, and if someone in the room is trying to lip read you, then that makes it nigh on impossible. So it's just making those common sense minor adjustments.
Yeah. And how would a company go about interviewing a deaf person if they really don't know sign language, and the deaf person can't lip read?
Okay, well, a lot of deaf people do lip read to some extent, but if they're a sign language user, then usually the protocol is to pre-book the interview and pre-book a professional communication specialist, like an interpreter, so a sign language interpreter that you can look up, and you can look through the Association of Sign Language Interpreters for a list of registered sign language interpreters that you can book in advance, and they can attend the meeting either via video link, video interpreting, or in person if that's possible. Obviously we've had the pandemic, so that might not be possible yet, but there is still video interpreting where you have a person on a video link interpreting between the parties.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, well, I think we'll put a link below to that. That's really, really useful. And I was going to ask another question, which is completely gone from. I know. Could you give some examples to viewers, please, of some basic sign language?
Okay, so basically, we can teach you straight away. A really prevalent topic at the moment is COVID, the COVID virus. So the COVID sign is COVID, like that. So left fist like that, and right hand goes over like that, palm facing out, so COVID. And if you want to say COVID virus, it's COVID and then virus like that going out. That's the virus part of it. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you is another nice meet and greet phrase. Name what you is what's your name. Now you notice that it's not the same as the English, because in British Sign Language it has a different structure. It's turned round, and you have your topic first, and then what you're saying about the topic. So instead of what is your name, the English, you would sign name what you, which is topic comment. So it turns it round. But that's what we're all about. That's what we teach you, and it's dead easy once you know what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. How many people do you generally teach at one time in a group?
So since the first lockdown, we've been teaching online, like on Zoom, like we're on today, David, but obviously we use other platforms, Google or Teams, so we can teach you online from anywhere in the country. So our remote courses, ideal, really, one group would be 8 to 10 on Zoom or online, but face-to-face, up to 15 candidates, attendees is fine as well, with social distancing in place, obviously, from now on, and COVID-friendly teaching premises and teaching rooms. But yes, so remote learning has been the way forward since last March.
Yeah, absolutely. And how has business been for you? Are you busy at the moment?
Yeah, at the moment we're involved in some really exciting projects. We're working in the local community with local councils. We've been working with the police force, and that's ongoing, and across a few police forces. Hopefully, we're in talks about that at the moment. So teaching frontline beat officers how to communicate with the deaf community in an emergency or first point of contact. So that's been really successful. And yeah, we're doing quite well, but obviously we would love to talk to anybody that we can help. Anyone that would like to connect with us, just give us a ring or email us or look at our website. We've got blogs there all the time. Of course, one of the major things at the moment, which I must quickly say, is about face masks. It's a bugbear of the deaf community because half your face is what's the word, covered up. So lip readers can't lip read you, and sign language users need to see your whole face to communicate with you visually. And if half of it's covered up, it's very, very difficult and challenging for them. So we need to be much more aware of those difficulties and being able to adapt to those when we speak to people by, asking if they need us to remove our mask, and keeping that social distance at the same time is perfectly acceptable. And you can do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where you're going to a foreign country which you can't speak the language. You always find a way to communicate, don't you? The most sort of basic things. So yeah, we can do that. And I'm going to put your website just below here for everyone to see and get in contact with you. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Really, really appreciate it. And everyone, yeah, please like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, really go to Emm's website and have a chat with her and make sort of deaf awareness more a thing within your organisation. Thank you, Emm.
Lovely. Thank you, David. Thanks very much. Bye.